particular way. Now, earlier, Bill Hancock. Man, this cluster of the college football expansion, the playoff expansion. Remember, a year ago at this time, there should have already been the new expansion. And then there was the alliance that delayed that. It did exactly what they wanted it to do. So they're not going to do anything. It will not be changed, at least on the field, for the next 4 years. But that clock is ticking. And we had a chance to visit with Bill Hancock, the executive director of the College Football Playoff. The executive director of the College Football Playoff with us, Bill Hancock, has been in that role since before there was the playoff, and it's been a while. Craig Smoak, David Smoak. So when is there going to be expansion?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on.
Yes, sir.
So nice to meet you. I think we might have met one time in the past. We had a recommendation last summer, as you are aware, to expand to 12 teams, and the recommendation went out for study on campus and came back, and 3 of the conferences didn't want to do it yet. So we have 4 more years to go in the current contract. So we're in a good quiet time now where we can sit back and say, okay, let's let time go by, let things settle out a little bit, and we'll take up the conversation, I don't know when, but sometime before too long, about the future, about the possibility of expanding again.
What are those conversations like? I mean, what is it like getting down there? And obviously, everybody's got different agendas, different opinions, different what? I mean, what's the sort of the process? Can you take us through that?
You bet. This was a situation where we were talking about changing the current contract, which required the signatures of all people on the contract. So all 10 conferences, Notre Dame, all the bowl games would have to have approved the change. So I knew it was going to be a long shot to change during the current contract. The conversations are, well, these are cordial, collegial, collaborative people, these commissioners. They've been around the block. So they know how to work together. And I think they did their very best a year ago. But 3 of the conferences just said, we're not ready to do it. It only took 1.
Right.
And we had 3. And you may ask why the 3 wanted to not do it. Well, 1 wanted to have automatic qualification into the event for their champion. In CFP, we don't have automatic qualification. But they said we need it in the future. And I'm like, gosh, do you really? You would have been in it anyway. 1 wanted to make sure he knew how the bowls were going to be involved. And 1 just said, you know what, we got so much else going on in college sports. Let's see if we can solve those other problems before we tackle playoff expansion. And, of course, the other problems, NIL, the portal, the legal culture, those are going to be a long time before they can be solved. Those were what went into it, and it was not unprofessional conversations.
Is alliance a 4-letter word for you?
my word is everybody get at the same table and work together for the betterment of the game. Everybody.
How much do you feel like, obviously the realignment cloud's out there as well, which is monstrous, Texas OU last year, USC, UCLA now in the last week or 2. Is that part of, there's a lot going on, or was that ever really brought up when those did not sign?
It actually never came up in any of our meetings. It may have been in the back of people's minds. I don't know about that, but never was a factor.
You say it's collegial. Everyone kind of has been, they've all done this before. They've all done huge contracts, business deals, whatever. Do you feel like there's, in any way, any kind of scars among those getting back to the table because one might have been more annoyed than the other about the fact it did not go through? Because we've seen quotes that there are some people pretty upset it didn't go through.
Yeah, it was pretty tense when we came down to the white knuckle time in January in Indianapolis on the day of the championship game. It was pretty tense, and because people felt strongly on both sides. And scars, I can't imagine they're scars. These people are, like I say, they're big. They've been in this world a long time. I don't envision scars. I really don't.
Well, that's good. There shouldn't be.
It's not really a business where you can do that, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
You have to. I mean, and it's funny because people say, oh, your commissioners, they must be battling. Well, they have to turn around the next week and work together on a baseball issue or basketball. So it's not how fans would envision it being in a room like that.
And that's leads me perfectly to my next question. Fans, media, we sit from the outside and we're like, well, why can't you just get the playoff? Why can't you just get the 8 teams? Or why can't you just get all these people on the board? And I'm sure it's frustrating in y'all's position to kind of hear how easy it sounds when it's a lot more complicated than that, obviously, and there's a lot of personalities involved. What do you think is the biggest misconception when it comes to talk about the playoff?
Oh, so true. It's terribly complex. And in my chair, my office is here in Irving, by the way, this is right down the road. In my chair, I hear not as much, but I bet it runs 30-70 of people who say, I like this 4. I don't want to add any more teams. I'm talking about fans. But also ADs also. There's so many aspects that you have to consider. See, I'll give you one. Playing dates. If you expand, when do you play the first round in the quarterfinals? Do you play them in December? Probably. Well, the NFL has the Saturdays. So do you play up against the NFL? Do you play on Friday night? Not a great night for TV. But just playing dates is just one of the little things that you have to think about. Will fans travel? Do you want to make fans travel? That's why we wound up with our recommendation to have the first round games on campus.
Right.
Was let's save 4 groups of fans from having to travel so much. It's complex. But it was complex when we put the playoff together back in 2012, just like it is.
Yeah.
And we got through it. And we'll get through this too.
Bill, is there the word's not fear, a regret that college football opened up the door in December to the NFL to take over some weekends?
You know, that happened a long time ago. Actually, I used to be director of the NCAA Final Four, and it had happened back then. This is my 18th season in college football after 16 seasons with the Final Four. How lucky am I?
Awesome.
Other than you two guys, I have the best job in America. No. I mean, would we like to have it back today? Of course we would. We do have a flag planted on the Monday night for our championship game, and we don't intend to give that up. You know, the NFL expanded the what they call the first weekend, wild card weekend.
Wild card, yeah.
They've added 2 more teams to that. They'd like to play on Monday night, but they didn't. The NFL has been really good to us as far as scheduling goes. You know, our game this year is in SoFi. And the NFL has always sent the team on the road. The Dolphins played on the road. Saints played on the road. Cardinals played on the road the weekend of our game. Well, this year, the NFL, get this, they have 2 teams this year. And they're like, oh, can we send both of them on the road?
Yeah, Rams and Chargers.
Rams and Chargers.
Yeah.
And so they did a brilliant thing. What they did was, because they couldn't send, they don't like to send them both on the road for 2 weeks in a row. A brilliant thing happened. They matched the 2 of them up together.
There you go.
In the next to last week. So they're both at their home stadium. Brilliant thing by the NFL. So we feel really good about the NFL. They've helped us a lot.
Who is against the conference champion being... Like, what's the philosophy that if you win a conference championship, you're not in? Is it because you're afraid there might be a 7-5 team from one weak division that wins it, that knocks out somebody? But then what is the value of winning the conference championship? I'm sure you get that all the time.
I wonder if the listeners could see me nodding my head yes.
Yes. You
Yeah,
were.
they can.
Yeah, they are, because we're on TV, yeah.
I didn't know we were on TV. There is a possibility that you could have a team on probation. You know, you could have your number 1 team on probation and doesn't get to play. And then so you've got your number 2 team and plays a 7-5 team from the other division. I mean, that's a possibility. Remote, especially now with the NCAA, who knows what they're going to do on a lot of fronts, including probation. But that's part of it.
What about, isn't that the value of what brings excitement to the NCAA men's tournament, though? That somebody, Cinderella, can win the conference title, and that's kind of the lure of what really is the magic of that one?
Oh, it is, absolutely. In my time at the tournament, I loved it. I still love that tournament. I've been to 43 Final Fours in a row, by the way. I'm shooting for 75. But you can't, the sports are different. And you do have Cinderella for maybe a couple of rounds in the tournament.
Yeah, the first weekend, maybe a little bit into the next one.
Yeah.
Is there any truth to the the thought that when you go to name those 4 teams now, or it's the most deserving so-called resumes, if you expanded it, would the size of the fan base and how and who could travel 1, 2, or 3 weeks in a row, would that ever come into play? Should that ever even be a conversation?
No way.
Good. Shouldn't be.
No way.
Yeah.
It's not now, and it shouldn't be, and it won't be in the future.
Bill, how much? So really, not much can happen. There's 4 years left. You have 4 years left, and there's no way it changes then because of what happened last summer.
No, I don't see it changing.
So it won't be until another 4 years, and then by then we'll know what the heck the conferences look like.
How wildly different is college football in 4 years in your mind?
Oh my goodness, who knows?
Yeah.
I know this though. There will still be the passion we have today. The Baylor fans are still going to be going to that lovely stadium, that awesome stadium. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh my goodness, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
That won't diminish. We'll still have the passion. That's what separates college football from every other sport, is the volume of passion of the fans.
Will that continue if there becomes just a higher level of who can play for the national championship? Do you think that passion could be lost?
Yeah, no, it won't. It won't. Not at our level. It won't.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate your time.
You guys know each other?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me
Hey,
on.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Brett Daniels as well, longtime great friend in the media. Bill Hancock, Executive Director of the College Football Playoff on SICM 365 Radio. Man, there's a lot of feedback from you on the chat room about Bill Hancock and his responses and his body language and whatever else, but appreciate his time. And it's something that should have already been in place. They were going to renew the deal. It didn't happen. The alliance stopped it, and now they try to put it back together again. Going forward, and of course the new contract is he said the clock is ticking. They have 4 years to get it done, but you got to get it done before the 4th year. How can you do that though if you don't know where the conferences are, right? If in fact there's more changes. All right, we have so many people. Thank you to our sponsors, 3 Nations Brewery. Thanks to